Welcome to another webinar being hosted by the Canadian Mental Health Association of New Brunswick. My name is Denise Miller and I cover the Westmoreland and Albert counties of the province. So I'm very happy that you've joined me here today. So CMHA, for those of you who don't know, has been around over 100 years. We started up in 1918 nationally. And it's a national charity that helps maintain and improve mental health for all Canadians. And we're really proud of it. And through that 100 years, we've certainly evolved a lot, and probably not as much as what we've done in the last 6 months. We have really changed the way that we would do our presentations, our webinars, all the work that we did in the communities, that kind of stuff, and everything has been online for the past 6 months. So we're anxious to get back out there and to be seeing people again and be talking with people face to face. But we also understand the parameters of the safety aspect of the whole thing, and are certainly going to respect those boundaries. But in the meantime, at least we have the webinar, and it's providing us with a great ability to be able to be there for all of you. As a nationwide leader and champion for mental health, CMHA helps people access the community resources that they need to build resilience and support recovery from mental illness. And today's topic, of course, is very important towards that. So what do we look like in New Brunswick? Well, we have 18 offices throughout the province. And our three main offices are Fredericton, which is our provincial one, and then we have an office in Moncton and also one in St. John. We have the community program coordinators, CPCs, as we call ourselves, of which I am one of 11 throughout the province, and we're there to cover all the rural areas of the province. So we can help out in Fredericton, Moncton, St. John, but normally the offices will cover those, and we cover everything else as CPCs. So we go into those communities, we'll do presentations, workshops, support groups, self-help groups, sit on various committees, whatever those communities need us to do, we're there. And you can find all of those contact addresses, emails, phone numbers, everything right on our website. We also have a provincial peer support program, and that seeks to train individuals with lived experience with mental illness. We hope to instill and inspire others going through similar circumstances that recovery is possible. Okay? And then we have our employment program, which is called Working Stronger Together. It's down in Charlotte County. It provides employment and/or educational services needed to job-ready individuals living with diversified disabilities living in Charlotte County. So that program is there, and we hope through the next few years to be able to perhaps expand that program throughout the rest of the province. So let's get started. Well, let's take a look at some statistics first of all. It's important for learning coping strategies to support mental wellness or prevent mental health concerns through building resilience. So let's see what it's like right now in the country for people living perhaps with mental illness. So top left corner, 1 in 5 people will experience a mental health problem each year. So 1 in 5 will experience a problem each year. And okay, Shelley, I'll get back to you at the end. Experience, 1 in 3 will experience a mental health problem in their lifetime. I'm one. I sit back and I think of the few of us that are on this call today, this webinar, and 1 out of every 3 of us is going to deal with a mental health problem in my lifetime. So, yeah, I've had 2 depressions, and and currently I'm still having depression, but I am on medication, and which is really helping a lot. So that's really helpful. 500,000 Canadians will miss work each week due to a mental health concern. 500,000 each week. That's huge. Almost 1 in 4 Canadians report having a high degree of life stress. That actually surprises me. I would have thought it would have been higher than that. Thanks to COVID, I think it's a little bit lower in some aspects. I think anxiety's up a little bit, but I think our level of stress that we were living under has gone down due to having to slow down. The estimated annual cost of mental illness, so that's healthcare, lost productivity, and reductions in health-related quality of life, on the Canadian economy is a total of $51 billion. That's huge. That's huge. 60 to 80% of visits to primary care doctors may be stress-related. 60 to 80%. And then the last statistic is 5 out of 5 people have mental health and can benefit from resiliency. So yeah, we don't all have mental illness, but we certainly all have mental health. And there are days our mental health is better than other days. Okay? So yeah, we can all benefit from becoming more resilient and being able to, have better coping strategies and that kind of thing. So the continuum. What do we mean when we talk about mental health? Well, we're all in a state of mental health, just as we're in a state of physical health. We are all somewhere on the continuum. In a sense, it's like the weather. It's the emotional and psychological climate in which we live, and the resources we have available to us to help us cope. Just as the weather is created by the systems that move through an environment, our mental health is affected by circumstances and experiences of our own lives. So mental health can be defined as the interaction between our personal characteristics, including our experiences, resources, and the context and events of our lives. Mental health, essentially is about coping with the stresses and the challenges of life. Everyone has these, but the way we cope varies from person to person. Our mental health may greatly vary depending on what is happening in our life. We could have loss or change, work stress, disappointments, etc. Strong support networks and financial security can greatly impact a person's ability to cope with stress, change, and difficulties in life. We all have different experiences, resilience, and abilities and tools to cope with the context of what is happening in our lives. So our mental health may not be the same as someone else who is experiencing similar circumstances at the same time. So what are some things that impact a person's mental health? Well, relationships, employment, finances, where you live, the family you grew up in, your coping strategies, education, opportunities in life. All of these can be either positive or negative, sources of stress or sources of support. Weddings, graduations, buying a home, landing a job could all be positive circumstances that can also impact our mental health negatively. It's a positive event, but it still puts stress on us, right? What do we mean when we talk about mental health problems? Well, if we look at the vertical arrow in the slide to show how individuals can be in low mental health or high mental health, or anywhere along the arrow, depending on various factors in their lives and how they interact with them. Essentially, we can all be anywhere on this line. No one gets through life without encountering mental health problems of some kind, because we all experience stress, loss, and change. And I don't think we've ever experienced change like we're experiencing it right now due to the changes that we're experiencing with COVID. So this is perhaps quite timely. It depends on factors in life and how we interact with them. Most of us are able to adjust over time and return back to our natural equilibrium. What do we mean when we talk about mental illness? Well, mental illnesses are medically diagnosable illnesses. Research indicates genetic predisposition is involved. Examples: inherited factors similar to other illnesses such as diabetes, which makes certain people more vulnerable to developing these illnesses. It doesn't mean that because my mom had anxiety that I'm going to have anxiety too. It's just saying that I'm more vulnerable. So perhaps I need to pay more care to my mental health. I need to practice better self-care and do all the things that I should do to help me prevent. Psychosocial factors or external stressors may trigger the development of mental illness also. Mental illness involves biochemical changes in the brain. So when I went into my depression, the medication that they put me on helped me to take the out of balance chemicals and balance them off. So I'm feeling far better than what I was, and I feel quite great. These changes in brain chemistry can cause changes in thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors, which are symptoms of mental illness, just as pain or fever are symptoms of physical illness. This makes mental illness difficult for other people to understand because it may appear that the individual's personality has changed. So in looking at the horizontal arrow in the slide, we can show how a person can have high symptoms of mental illness, the far left, being anywhere along that arrow, or have no symptoms of mental illness at all on the far right. Mental illnesses are often episodic or cyclical, and that a person may have long periods without significant symptoms. So let's look at quadrant 1, flourishing. A person has high mental health, good coping ability, support and security, and no symptoms of mental illness. Quadrant 2, languishing. A person may have severe stress on his or her mental health, perhaps living with serious financial or relationship problems, but still have no mental illness. So remember when I spoke earlier and said that we all have mental health, and some days it's better than others. This is where we see it come in. Quadrant 3, flourishing and having high symptoms of mental illness. A person may have high symptoms of mental illness, but have the resources and social support to cope well, while still having high mental health issues. And then quadrant 4, languishing and high symptoms of mental illness. A person has high symptoms of mental illness and has severe stress on his or her mental health. They could be isolated, they could be living in poverty, poor housing, little support, no opportunities for services, so on and so forth. So the benefit of building and practicing coping strategies, or building a toolbox, a coping toolbox, to support positive mental health and how we might move around within, shows us how we might be able to move around the continuum. So our next slide is understanding stress. Stress is a fact of life. No matter how much we might long for a stress-free existence, and Lord knows if I could wave a wand, I'd make it so. The fact is, the stress is actually necessary. It's how we respond to stress that can negatively affect our lives. It's how we respond to stress that can negatively affect our lives. So it's not the stress itself, it's in our response. So the simple equation, S equals P is greater than R. Stress happens when the pressures that we experience are greater than the resources we have to deal with them. Okay, so that's where our stress comes in. We often talk about stress, but we're not always clear about what it is. Stress comes from both good and bad experiences. If we didn't feel any stress, we wouldn't be human. Stress may feel overwhelming at times, but there are many strategies that can help you take control. Stress is our psychological, physiological, and behavioral response to change. And stressors are the ever-present situations that bring about that change. The significance, meaning, and interpretation that an individual assigns to a stressor affects how the individual will respond. Unanticipated, undesirable, and uncontrollable changes increase our stress response. When faced with a situation, you automatically and immediately evaluate the situation. You decide if it's threatening, how you need to deal with it, and what skills you can use. If you decide that the demands of the situation outweigh the skills that you have, then your body is going to respond with the stress response. Stress can also be defined as any change that we have to adapt to. This includes difficult life events, bereavement or illness, and positive ones, getting a new job or going on vacation. These are certainly perceived to be happy occurrences, but they too are changes, also known as stress, that require some adaptation. In the past, the demands of meeting basic needs uses up the stress response energy and return the body to normal functioning. In today's society, however, we trigger our stress response more often and have fewer outlets for the extra energy produced. There are very few battles to fight and almost no places to run. Our bodies need time to replenish their resources, and when this doesn't happen, our bodies begin to break down. Learning to effectively cope with stress can ease our bodies and our minds. Meditation, other relaxation methods such as exercise, visualization are all helpful techniques for reducing the negative impact of stress. Stress can be beneficial in moderation. That's because short episodes of stress trigger chemicals that improve memory, increase our energy levels, and enhance alertness and productivity. But chronic stress has debilitating effects on our overall health. Physically, it can contribute to migraines, to ulcers, muscle tension, and fatigue. Canadian researchers found that chronic stress more than doubled the risk of heart attacks. Persistent stress also affects us emotionally and intellectually and can cause decreased concentration and memory, confusion, loss of sense of humor, anxiety, anger, irritability, and fear. The link between stress and mental illness has yet to be fully understood, but it's known that stress can negatively affect an episode of mental illness. So it's not the event that determines if an experience will be stressful or traumatic. It's the individual's experience of the event. And this simply means that an event or a situation will affect each of us differently. It's all based on our past experiences. The things that stress us, each of us, will be different. So what I'm saying is that what stresses me may or may not stress you also. Okay? It may or may not. It just all depends on past experiences, life events, that sort of thing. Cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm not sure if any of you have heard about it, but we're going to talk a little bit about it and to have a better understanding of what it is and how it works. All our emotions, whether positive or negative, are associated with certain characteristic ways we think of ourselves, ways that we perceive others and the world, and with certain behaviors, actions, and physical reactions. We all react in different ways to emotional experiences, but building an understanding of our own reactions can provide us with clues to other people's reactions in similar situations. Excuse me. We're often not aware of the impact our feelings and behaviors have on each other. And because of this relationship, changing our behaviors can have a very big effect on our emotions. We can often tackle depression by changing key behaviors. So where do thoughts fit in? Well, when we talk about thoughts, we are referring to a lot of different mental activities, including wishes, hopes, plans, predictions, judgments, and memories. Thoughts often include words, but sometimes they can include pictures, speech, or even smells. Most of the time, we don't notice our thoughts. They go on in the background, helping us make decisions and carry out many tasks automatically. Sometimes we become aware of our thoughts. For example, when we try to work out a puzzle, or remember a specific event, or do a particular task, like write a letter to a friend or learn a new language. The link between our thoughts and our emotions or feelings and our behaviors was highlighted by an American psychiatrist, Dr. Aaron Beck. In his clinical practice, Beck worked with individuals with depression and noticed that negative thinking was a core aspect of depression. He proposed that negative thinking both made people feel depressed and made it hard to recover from depression. Beck proposed that the relationship between thoughts, feelings, and behaviors were interlinked. Changing one of the parts would have an effect on any of the others. Cognitive behavioral therapy is a widely used form of psychotherapy that helps individuals understand the connection between their thoughts and feelings, and how the thoughts and feelings influence their behavior. The goal of cognitive behavior therapy is to teach individuals that while they cannot control every aspect of the world around them, they can take control of how they interpret and deal with their own things in their own environment. So I cannot control anything in my life 100% other than me. I'm the only thing that I can control 100%. So the way that I choose to react, respond, relate to other people, all of that, that's all 100% my choice, right? So if you can change your thoughts, you can change your life. CBT is one of the most popular therapies around because it's highly researched and proven to be effective with a wide array of mental health disorders, including addiction, depression, anxiety, and phobias. We have a program that we give, a workshop called Living Life to the Full, and it is really based on cognitive behavioral therapy. It has 8 sessions, and it is amazing. When it first came to Moncton, a couple of my coworkers were trained as facilitators, and when they gave the first one, I decided to sit in and take it as a participant. Oh my gosh, it was probably one of the best things I've ever done for me in my life. I really, truly understood how my thoughts affected my feelings and my emotions, and thereby affecting my behaviors. And I realized that I was allowing that to happen. I was choosing for it to happen, and that I did have control over it. So I've been working on it ever since, and it's huge. But I've also since taken my training, and I'm now a trained facilitator in giving the program. So I love it. I absolutely love it. The program, once again, is called Living Life to the Full. We have a youth component. We have a general public one, and we also have a senior one. So if there's a place in there where you fit, you should kind of keep your eyes open. And you'll find that on our website anyway. So emotions. Emotions describe the range of what you're feeling. Thoughts. What types of thoughts were in your mind when that particular thing happened? Physiological reactions. How did your body react? Did you get butterflies in your stomach? Did you tense up? Did you get really red and you know, feeling like your blood pressure was about to explode? And then behaviors. What did you do? Right? That's what it breaks down to. We can break the vicious cycle by changing the way that we think and we act. By making links between what we do, think, and feel, CBT can help us make the changes in the way that we think, cognitively, and the way that we act, behaviorally. Making changes in what we think will affect what you do and feel, and changing what we do affects the way that we think and feel. Making these changes then can help us feel better. CBT says that it's not the event which causes our emotions, but it's how we interpret the event, what we think or what meaning we give to that event or situation. How did I interpret that? How did I perceive it? The rest of this presentation is going to focus on strategies for the toolbox that will assist us with breaking that cycle. But an example in the meantime of how this model can be applied is, for an example, a young girl is walking down the hallway at school and she notices a group of girls glance at her and start laughing. Worried that they're making fun of her, she starts to feel tears in her eyes and she runs away. So, using the model we're discussing, this is one way we could break this situation down. Her thoughts, they're making fun of me. They don't like me. Her feelings, she's perhaps feeling ashamed, hurt, upset. And her behavior, dashing away, running away, and crying. But are there other ways to interpret this situation? The only facts that we have is that they looked at her and they were laughing and they were in the hallway at school. So what if instead of that heavy negative worry, we tried to focus on a different thought, well, they're having a good time. Someone must have told a joke. Would the feelings that she felt, being ashamed, upset, and hurt, still exist? Maybe, but it's not as likely. Instead, she might think something like this. Her thoughts, well, they're having a good time. Her feelings, curious, distracted, and her behavior continues down the hall like usual, right? Do you see how the different components are connected? Try thinking of a situation you went through recently that brought up feelings of being upset or anxious. Look at what your thoughts were, your feelings, and your behaviors in that situation. And then look to see if there's a different thought that you could apply to it and see if that changes your feelings and behaviors. So in other words, look for the truth in it. Look for the validity. Is there any truth to her thinking that they were laughing at her? There's no truth for that. It may or it may not be real. So until it really is real and concrete and put in front of her, then she can choose to let it go and carry on, right? So, not just a toolbox. Coping skills are not just for a toolbox. A toolbox is something that we take off the shelf when we need to access a tool to fix something. While sometimes we may need to dip into our toolbox for some extra tools in special circumstances, many of these tools can be incorporated into our routine regularly to prevent rising mental health concerns upon noticing concerns. Each of our paths to mental health, mental well-being will be unique. We all have our own goals, our own challenges, our own talents, and our own supports. But good mental health is in everyone's reach. It is there. We have to work for it, but it's there. Taking action is the first step. Ignoring the effects of stress can lead to other mental health problems. There's no one right way to deal with stress. The tips below are common strategies that are helpful for many people. And try them out. See what works best for you. Remember to look at both the short-term and long-term solutions when you're dealing with stress. So the first thing you want to do is perhaps actually identify the problem. So is your job, school, relationship with someone, or worries about money causing you the stress? Are unimportant surface problems hiding deeper problems? Once you know what the real problem is, you can do something about it. So it's really helpful to identify the problem. Solve problems as they come up. What can you do and what are possible outcomes? Would that be better or worse than doing nothing? Remember, sometimes solving a problem means doing the very best that you can, even if it isn't perfect, or asking for help. Once you've decided on a solution, divide the steps into manageable pieces and work on one piece at a time. That's another component to living life to the full. We spend a whole session talking about that. Improving your problem-solving skills is a long-term strategy that can help you feel like you're in control again. That's pretty amazing. So, when we're looking at coping tools, under thoughts, well, we have self-awareness. Self-awareness, first, it's important to recognize the sources of your stress. Events such as the death of a loved one, starting a new job, or moving are certainly stressful. However, much of our stress comes from within us. How we interpret things, a conversation, a performance review, even a look, determines whether something becomes a stressor. Negative self-talk, where we focus on self-criticism and pessimistic over-analysis, can turn an innocent remark into a major source of stress. Understanding where your stress originates can help you decide on a course of action. External stressors like bereavement or career changes can be managed over time and with the support of family and friends. Internal stressors caused by our own negative interpretation require changes in attitude and behavior. The goal of managing stress is to cue the relaxation response. This is the physiological and psychological calming process our body goes through when we perceive that the danger or stressful event has passed. So, we want to connect with ourselves. Set aside quiet, quality time to be totally alone. Try a breathing exercise, count your breaths from 1 to 4, and then start at 1 again. Or do something you love to do, like dancing, going to a baseball game, building a birdhouse, going for a hike, or whatever works for you. Check in on how you really feel. So how many times in a week do you ask or answer the question, how are you? How many times do you go through the motions and skip the opportunity to really connect? Chances are you're feeling more or less than just fine. So what we're saying here is regular self-help check-ins are helpful. Recognize your symptoms and triggers of stress. Recognize the things it is that set you off. And you can just go back over past experiences and situations and events and figure those out, right? And look at your lifestyle, your routine, your values, your thoughts and perceptions. Is there anything that needs to be changed or tweaked? I know that for a long time, my values and beliefs came from my elders, my parents, my uncles and aunts, my grandparents, but they didn't necessarily work well in the world that I'm living in today, or perhaps in the lifestyle that I wanted to have. So I needed to look at them and tweak them a little so that they suited me more. And that's how we can do that. So, how am I doing? Am I doing okay? What has changed? How long have I been feeling this way? Oh, I need help. So from the green, and you head right over to the red, right? So green is healthy, using simple coping tools, walking, talking to friends, music, and limit the news and media. That's been a big thing that people have been talking about a lot since COVID. Be very selective in what you watch and listen to in regards to COVID. Not all of it is accurate that's out there, and we don't need to be bombarded with it every day. It's not healthy. So in yellow, we're reacting. Well, we get a good sleep and eat well, and we seek support from others if we need it. Sometimes a problem can be just too big for us to fix ourselves. Orange, we're feeling injured. It's time to get professional help. And red, we're not well. We need to get help now or call a crisis line. All right? So this is where we need to be aware of how we respond to stressor is the first step in a successful coping strategy. When you decide that something is causing you stress, you may instinctively resort to your body's fight or flight reaction. This causes a release of adrenaline, a natural body chemical, and starts the initial stage of your stress response. You may respond to this in your own way. You may experience physical signs such as muscle tension and difficulty sleeping. Or you may react emotionally with outbursts of crying or anger. Next time you're feeling stressed, look for your personal stress signs. They are your clue that you need to do something to reduce the impact. So when we know what it looks like, we know what we can do about it. But we have to learn to recognize it. Recognizing your emotions. Emotional well-being is not about being happy all the time. Feeling sad, angry, and anxious at times is part of being human. Emotions exist. They are there. Emotional well-being involves expressing our emotions in a way that respects everyone. Bottling up our feelings does not respect our own experiences, just as lashing out because we feel angry may not respect others. Emotional well-being also includes recognizing what influences our emotions, discovering how our emotions are affected by the way that we think or act, taking action when our emotional response isn't helpful, and learning to accept our emotions, even the difficult ones. Well, let's identify and deal with our moods. Find out what makes you happy, sad, joyful, angry, what calms you down. Learn ways to deal with your moods. Share joyful news with a friend and find support when you feel sad. Physical exercise can help you deal with your anger or anxiety. Keep a stack of your favorite funny cartoons, stories, or videos for times when you need to laugh. This is a great tool, this slide, from the Mental Health Commission of Canada, and reminds us to take steps to check in with ourselves regularly about our mental health, just as we might be regularly aware of the state of our physical health. All right, so focus. Okay. Though there are no clear explanations for the health benefits of a positive outlook brings, scientists believe that there's a solid link between optimism and the immune system, providing it with the boost it needs to fight the pitfalls of aging and disease. So, negative self-talk can increase your distress and can make effects such as headaches, stomach pain, much worse. It can also encourage you to behave in self-destructive ways that further distress your body. Nobody cares. Why shouldn't I have another drink? Fortunately, positive self-talk can have the opposite effect, leading to a confident, positive attitude. So, what's strong rather than what's wrong? That's what we want to focus on. Instead of always trying to fix what's wrong, look for what is right. So instead of being focused on the wrong or the negative, try focusing on what's right, the positive. Knowing the difference, what can you change and what you do not have an effect on. We don't have an effect on everything, and we can't change everything. So to understand the difference, we can only change our response to events, not others. All right? So that's important to remember that. So, how can we challenge negative thoughts with common thought traps? Well, what you tell yourself about a situation affects how you feel and what you do. Sometimes your interpretation of a situation can get distorted and you only focus on the negative aspects. This is normal and expected. However, when you interpret situations too negatively, you might feel worse. You're also more likely to respond to the situation in ways that are unhelpful in the long term. These automatic thoughts and assumptions are sometimes called thinking traps. Everyone falls into unbalanced thinking traps from time to time. You're most likely to distort your interpretation of things when you already feel sad, angry, anxious, depressed, or stressed. You're also more vulnerable to thinking traps when you're not taking good care of yourself, like when you're not eating or sleeping well. So here's some examples of thinking traps. Overgeneralizing. Thinking the negative situation is part of a constant cycle of bad things that happen. People who overgeneralize often use words like always or never. I was really looking forward to that concert and now it's canceled. This always happens to me. I never get to do fun things. Black and white thinking. Seeing things as only right or wrong, good or bad, perfect or terrible. People who think in black and white terms see a small mistake as a total failure. I wanted to eat healthier, but I ate too many snacks today. This plan is a total failure. Labeling. Saying only negative things about yourself or other people. I made a mistake. I'm so stupid. My boss told me that I made a mistake. My boss is a total jerk. Fortune telling. Predicting that something bad will happen without any evidence. I've been doing what I can to stay home and reduce the risk, but I just know I'm going to get sick. Mental filter. Focusing only on negative parts of a situation and ignoring anything good or positive. I know there's lots of things that I can do at home, but I'm just so sick of this. Everything is terrible. Emotional reasoning. Believing that bad feelings or emotions reflect the situation. I feel scared and overwhelmed right now, so that must mean that everything is really bad and will never get better. Should statements. Telling yourself how you should or must act. I should be able to handle this without getting upset and crying. How do I get out of a thinking trap? Well, here's a few helpful strategies that might help. Try to separate your thoughts from actual events. Ask yourself the following questions when something is upsetting. What is the situation? What actually happened? Only include the facts that everyone else would agree on, right? So we're not going to catastrophize it. We're not going to blow it out of proportion. So what are your thoughts? What are you telling yourself? What are your emotions? How do you feel? What are your behaviors? How are you reacting? What are you doing to cope? Identify the thinking traps. Take a look at the thoughts that you've listed. Are you using any of the thinking traps and falling into distorted thinking patterns? It's common to fall into more than one thinking trap. Go back to the thinking trap list and think about which ones apply to you and your current situation. Challenge the thinking traps. The best way to break a thinking trap is to look at your thoughts like a scientist and consider the hard facts. Use the evidence you've collected to challenge your thinking traps. And here's some ways to do that. Try to find evidence against the thought. If you make a mistake at work, you might automatically think, I can't do anything right. I must be the worst employee here. When this thought comes up, you might challenge it by asking, is there any evidence to support that thought? Is there any evidence to disprove the thought? You might quickly realize that your boss has complimented your work recently, which doesn't support the idea that you're a bad employee after all. The double standard. Ask yourself, would I judge other people if they did the same thing? Am I being harder on myself than I would be with someone else? This is a great method for challenging thinking traps that involve harsh self-criticism. The survey method. Find out whether other people you trust agree with your thoughts. For example, you might have trouble with one of your kids and think, good, parents wouldn't have this kind of problem. To challenge this thought, you can ask other parents if they've ever had any problems with their kids. Conduct an experiment. Test your beliefs in person. For example, if you think that your friends don't care about you, call a few friends and make plans to start a regular video call. If you assume that they will all say no, you might be pleasantly surprised to hear that they all want to see you. Aim for a balance in your thoughts. Once you've worked through some of those challenges, try to think of a more balanced thought to replace the old thinking traps. So, for an example, here's the situation. I feel sad and overwhelmed. I'm having a hard time figuring out what to do. My thoughts are, I'm the worst. I should be able to handle this. The thinking trap, I'm labeling. And there's those should statements. I need to challenge. Examine the evidence. I have a lot of challenges right now. I'm worried about my family and everything seems to change so quickly. I've successfully handled complicated situations in the past, so I know that I can do this. Balance my thoughts. It's okay to feel upset right now. There's a lot going on. I'm going to think about how I can get through, how I got through past situations and see what worked for me. I'm trying to do a lot on my own, so I'm going to talk to my family so we can make a plan and work together, right? I'm going to go looking for that help. So we can see how things start to fit and how we can challenge our thoughts so that they become far healthier in a positive manner. So our feelings, what are we going through with our feelings? Well, mindful grounding. This technique will help you through your 5 senses to help remind you of the present. This is a calming technique that can help you get through tough or stressful situations. So, first of all, let's just look at the slide, and I'm going to read it to you, so I want you to get comfortable. If you close your eyes, you're sitting in a chair, you're laying on your bed, however, whatever position you're in right now. And please just listen and do as I ask. Think of 5 things that you can see right now. Well, I guess you'd have to have your eyes open. So think of 5 things that you can see right now. Well, I see a suitcase on the couch. I see my cup of tea. I see my laptop. I see the lamp. And I see the doorway. Think of 4 things that you can touch or feel right now. Well, I can feel the dress that I'm wearing. I can feel the table that's in front of me. I can feel the mouse at my hand. And I can feel a very, very slight breeze on my skin. Think of 3 things that I can hear right now. Well, I hear myself. I hear ringing in my ears. And I hear the furnace starting to run. Think of 2 things that I can smell right now. Well, I still smell the bowl of homemade vegetable barley chicken soup that I warmed up for lunch. And an air freshener that I have going. Think of 1 thing that you can taste right now. Well, I still taste the vegetable barley chicken soup that I had for lunch because I didn't brush my teeth after, so I can still taste it. When you sit back and you tune into your senses and you go through this exercise, and it doesn't matter if you don't have them in the right order, but the fact is that you're going to touch, make connection with your 5 senses. You really feel grounded. You're able to feel like your feet are on solid ground and that you're good to go. It gives you a sense of calm, a sense of peacefulness, and you're ready to move forward. Well, gratitude journaling. Does anybody here journal? Stop feeling sorry for yourself, we are often told, and while it can be hard to avoid self-pity entirely, mentally strong people choose to exchange self-pity for gratitude. Whether you choose to write a few sentences in a gratitude journal or simply take a moment to silently acknowledge all that you have, giving thanks can transform your life. So, gratitude, how does it work? Well, gratitude opens the door to more relationships. Not only does saying thank you constitute good manners, but showing appreciation can help you win new friends. The study found, according to a 2014 study published in Emotion, the study found that thanking a new acquaintance makes them more likely to seek an ongoing relationship. So whether you thank a stranger for holding the door or send a note of thanks to that colleague who helped you with a project, acknowledging other people's contributions can lead to new opportunities. Gratitude improves physical health. Grateful people experience fewer aches and pains and report feeling healthier than other people. Gratitude improves psychological health. It reduces a multitude of toxic emotions, from envy and resentment to frustration and regret. Gratitude enhances empathy and reduces aggression. Grateful people are more likely to behave in a pro-social manner, even when others behave less kindly. Grateful people sleep better. With writing in a gratitude journal helps improve sleep. Gratitude improves self-esteem. A 2014 study published in the Journal of Applied Sports Psychology found that gratitude increased athletes' self-esteem, an essential component to optimal performance. Other studies have shown that gratitude reduces social comparisons. Gratitude also increases our mental strength. For years, research has shown that gratitude not only reduces stress, but it may also play a major role in overcoming trauma. So, our behavior. Well, make time. Make time to just be with the important people in your life. Make time for simply having fun and enjoying each other's company, and time for serious conversations. Get involved. Being involved in things that really matter to us provide a great feeling of purpose and satisfaction. You make a difference, no matter how big or small your efforts. And volunteer. Be a volunteer. Read to children at your local library. Visit people in the hospital or care facility. Serve on a committee or a board of your favorite charity. Clean up your favorite park or beach, or simply help a neighbor. So, daily planner, including self-care. Time management. Do essential tasks and prioritize the others. Consider those who may be affected by your decisions, such as family and friends. Use a checklist so you'll receive satisfaction as you check off each job as it's done. Don't forget, making a proactive plan can give us positive reminders, motivation. It's a SMART goal. You want it to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So when you're considering what you're scheduling in, don't forget to schedule yourself some breaks and some time off. Breaks and time away from work can actually increase productivity and your mood. Self-care is hugely important. So, our next slide, kindness. Kindness towards others and self-kindness, self-compassion. Kindness is the principle or practice of concern for the welfare of others. In short, it's putting other people's needs ahead of yours. Evidence has shown that helping others can have a positive effect on your mental health and well-being. For example, it can reduce stress and improve mood, self-esteem, and happiness. So, things that you might consider: do something you enjoy. Keep others in mind. Don't overdo it. And keep a good deeds diary. Things that you can do: volunteer, mentor, do something for a good cause. And of course, always random acts of kindness. They're so fun to do. Relaxation techniques. There's a good coping tool. We have different kinds, obviously, and relaxation looks different for everyone. It's important that you find something that works for you. It could be yoga, meditation, massage, fishing and or hunting, music, building a birdhouse, rock climbing, candles, finding your peaceful environment. Okay? Where is it that you connect with when you're outside in the nature? Connecting with others. Connecting with others is more important than you might think. Balancing social connections with things that give us achievement or enjoyment are crucial. Social connection can support lowering feelings of stress, anxiety, and depression. Well, what are some ways that you feel comfortable building new connections? Well, perhaps it's having a friend introduce you to somebody new, right? That's a perfect way of doing it. There's different things that we can do. And then what can we do this week to connect with somebody? Well, we could join a club or try out a group activity. We could reach out to an old friend because we've lost touch with them. Volunteer for something we care about. Eat lunch in a communal space. Introduce myself to my neighbors. Ask someone for help when I need it. And do a random act of kindness, right? And of course, our physical feelings. Relaxation breathing. Deep breathing is one of the best ways there is to lower the stress in your body. And it can be done literally anywhere. You can do it in church, you can do it in class, you can do it at work, you can do it at home, you can do it wherever, okay? And here they use the 4-7-8 method, and we're going to look at another method after. But basically you inhale for 4, you hold for 7, and you exhale for 8. So let's try it. So a deep breath, hold, and exhale. Breathing, deep breathing is so healthy, so healthy. Here's is what they call square breathing. So we're going to inhale for 4, we're going to hold it for 4, we're going to exhale for the count of 4, and then hold that for 4. So I'm more comfortable with square breathing. That's what I'm more comfortable with. So this is something that I could easily do just about anywhere. Incorporating this into daily routine can help as a preventative practice, not only just as an intervention practice, as when you're feeling anxious or stressed, okay? So, sleep self-care. Setting a bedtime and wake-up time. One impactful way to improve sleep patterns and hygiene is to practice a sleep routine. Get up and try again later. If you've been trying to sleep for more than 20 minutes, try getting up, doing something that is calming and relaxing, and then going back to bed when feeling sleepy. You want to avoid stimulants. Try to avoid your caffeine, alcohol, and nicotine, as well as other stimulants at least 4 to 5 hours prior to your anticipated bedtime. Keep your bed for sleep. Saving your bed for specific things like sleep instead of regularly using it for other activities can help your body associate your bed with sleep. Try doing something that is not stimulating. Engaging your mind in something that is self-soothing and not stimulating can help relax you both physically and mentally. Avoid naps. Avoid napping unless your body is indicating to you that you need one and will help ensure you are tired at bedtime. Develop a routine or a ritual for sleep. So develop a practice that helps to teach and remind your body it's time to sleep. Maybe you'll take a hot bath before bed. Exercise or physical activity. Keeping it active regularly and reasonably can help reduce energy at bedtime, both physically and mentally. Shut off the screens. Reducing screen time, especially a few hours prior to bedtime, helps to train your body and internal clock to be more ready for sleep. Don't watch the clock. Over attention to the time when you're not able to sleep can increase stress or anxiety, which can also stimulate your brain and your body. Control exposure to light. Melatonin, which assists with relaxing and preparing your body for sleep, is secreted more when you're in the dark than exposed to light. Managing stress. Help your mind wind down and clear your thoughts, which will reduce stress, anxiety, and worry, and will support a more relaxed sleep. Exercise. Mental health benefits of physical activity. It may prevent anxiety and depression. It reduces day-to-day stress. It may support prevention of cognitive decline. It may increase or enhance cognitive functioning. And it can support academic or employment concentration or performance. So there's a lot of good things about the physical activity part of it. Okay, so unhelpful tools that we want to take out of our toolbox, and we do have some. Everybody has some. So we're looking at avoidance, numbing and withdrawing, and anger. So avoidance, fear alerts us to what may threaten our survival. Unlike distraction, avoidance can involve avoiding situations or problems until there's no longer a way to avoid it, or not dealing with it as well. Or it can also involve seeking reassurance repeatedly rather than solving the problem. Numbing and withdrawing represents things that you do that tune out uncomfortable emotions. Common methods of avoidance include using drugs or alcohol, developing unhealthy eating habits such as binge eating, and excessive sleep are all used to escape. Anger is often a secondary emotion, meaning that a person initially feels a more vulnerable emotion, such as rejection, anxiety, or sadness, but then feels and expresses anger instead. So, take time to ask yourself, what do you do to get rid of unpleasant emotions? If I'm feeling angry, what do I do to get rid of that anger? What emotional escape methods do you use? So, building resiliency. Oh, wow. There's so many ways that we can build our resiliency. Building resiliency means coping well with problems, stress, and other difficult situations. Problems and stress are a normal part of life. Situations like accidents or illness, unexpected life changes, and conflict happen to everybody. Resiliency is what helps you look at the situation realistically, take action when you make changes, let go of things that you can't change, and recognize the helpful supports in your life. Your resiliency toolkit might include skills like problem solving, assertiveness, balancing your obligations and expectations, and developing support networks. While some people learn these skills during treatment for mental health problems, we should really think of them as skills for everybody. You can learn more about these skills online, in books, through community organizations, or through your healthcare provider. I always have a self-help book on the go. I'm always working on something for myself. And one of them is building resiliency. Absolutely. I would like to become as resilient as possible. So, building your own toolkit. Set aside time to think about resiliency tools that you already have. These might include skills like structured problem solving or people who can help you during difficult situations. Remember to include strategies that have worked for you in the past. Keep your list on hand and use it as a reminder when you need help. It's also a good way to see where you might want to build new skills or supports. You'll see what's missing, right? Resilience is a process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or significant sources of stress, such as family and relationship problems, serious health problems, or workplace and financial stressors. It means bouncing back from difficult experiences. And that's basically what it is. When I get pushed down on my rear end, I get back up and I go back at it again. I learn and I go back. So how do I build resilience? I make connections. I avoid seeing crisis as insurmountable problems. I accept that change is part of living, and it is. Move towards your goals. So if you have goals in mind, and maybe write them down on paper, remember your SMART goals, right? Write them down so you're moving in a forward direction, in a positive direction, and you know what you have to do and where you need to go. Take decisive actions. Share concerns and stressful feelings. Don't keep that stuff bottled up inside. Sit down and talk with somebody that you trust and share what it is that you're feeling. Look for opportunities for self-discovery. See what you can learn new about yourself. Nurture a positive view of yourself. I've worked really, really, really hard to get there. I was very, very much a negative, low self-esteem person for almost all my life. And it's only been the last few years that I've really started to try to turn things around. And I guess practice does get there. I'm not going to say makes perfect because I'm far from that. But I can feel the changes already starting to happen. I'm starting to think more positively, feel more positively, express more positively. My self-talk is becoming more positive. My self-esteem is becoming more positive. Practice does work. Keep things in perspective. Don't blow things out of proportion, because then it can seem insurmountable. It can seem like it's too big for you to tackle. So keeping it in perspective really does help. Maintaining a hopeful outlook. Be positive and hopeful. You know, we're not going to stay like this forever, and people are going to get better, and a vaccine will be done. So in the meantime, we do what we're supposed to do, and we carry on with life, and we smile our way through it. Physical exercise, always helpful. Helping others makes one very thankful and grateful to be alive. When you get the feeling that you get from having helped somebody else, it's an amazing feeling. I don't know anything else that gives me that feeling, actually. Taking care of myself. I'm realizing now how vitally important it is to take care of myself. I actually had a conversation this morning with my family doctor about that, and really seeing the benefits now of doing it. So managing stress during current events. Well, we want to be able to build our positive support networks. So good relationships take effort, whether it's a relationship with family members, friends, or other important supporters. It takes courage to reach out. Social support is a very important part of mental health. People in our networks can offer many different kinds of support, like emotional support, practical help, and alternate points of view. Support can come from family and friends, neighbors and coworkers or classmates, faith communities, clubs, and or support groups for specific problems, right? So coping strategies for current circumstances. Self-care is hard work. Oh my goodness gracious. Yes. Because we don't do it enough. Once we become used to doing it and it becomes practice and it becomes part of our everyday, it's not going to be hard work anymore. What might be hard is coming up with something new to do, okay? But sit down and make a list of things that you can do to maybe look at ways of practicing self-care. Face stressors instead of avoiding them. You know, don't over imagine things. You know, don't overgeneralize things. Just keep them within proportion. This is the problem. I'm going to make a plan. I'm going to look at options. I'm going to make my plan based on my options, and I'm going to go forward with it. So we're working towards it. We're not running away from those, because those stressors really won't go away. Intentional practices to promote wellness are staying active and keeping yourself busy, staying connected, finding balance, being kind to yourself, taking care of your body. You only get one. You get one shot at it. Take care of it. Reach out for help when you need it. Don't wait. Don't sit frustrated or full of anxiety or scared. If you need help, ask for the help. Coping strategies for current circumstances. Notice hypervigilance, paying too much attention. Grounding techniques, practice those. Take time to grieve. We're grieving because we've lost. We've lost the way of doing things that we used to do. But we've also become very, very, very resilient in finding new ways to do the things we used to do. In some cases, for me, I find we're doing things better than we used to do them. Our communication with our loved ones is way better than it used to be. We're talking to them more often. We're FaceTiming with them. We're reaching out to people that we didn't reach out to that often before. So yes, we need to grieve the change, right? The changes that we're going through. We need to be able to get our minds around that and grieve that some things may never come back. But that's okay. That's what makes life interesting, right? We're finding much better, more positive ways of doing the things that we used to do. I will admit, the one thing with the mask for me is I can't see people smile. I can see when their cheeks go up. I know they're smiling, but I can't see the smile. So that I'll be looking forward to seeing smiles again. Finding personal ways to heal. Looking for the positive or for the hope. Look for the positive in situations and events. Don't focus on the negative. The negative are going to hold you back and they're going to keep you trapped. Look for the positive, and that's where you're going to find your options and you're going to be able to move forward. Keep track of your mental, physical health, wellness. What changes do you notice when you're going through different things in your life? Well, maybe through the most struggling times, that's when you kind of let your wellness, your self-care, and your physical health and everything kind of go. Well, that's when we need it the most, right? Get to know your signs and share with the people around you in your life. So what are the signs of when I'm starting to feel down or when I'm starting to feel frustrated or angry? Am I going to exhibit physical behavior that you guys, catch this? This is me and this is what's happening. Reach out for professional support. Oh my goodness. If you were having issues with your heart, I would tell you, go see your family doctor. She will refer you to a cardiologist. You need to have that looked into. If you were having trouble with your gallbladder, I would tell you to go see a gastroenterologist. I believe that's who it is. They would help you, so on and so forth. The brain is an organ, just like your gallbladder, just like your stomach, just like your heart, and if it's not working well, we just need to reach out for help. And sometimes it's just maybe talking, right? The psychotherapy, that maybe that's all we need is to talk it out with somebody who has an unbiased opinion. They're on the outside looking in and they can see things more clearly. They're not directly involved. So sometimes just speaking with a counselor can really just help to kind of put things in perspective. Strategies and resources. Build your strategies. I'm going to be launching a series of webinars and workshops coming up through October, November. And that's a really great opportunity to learn more about anxiety, learn more about depression. What are the tips and strategies if I'm feeling anxious? What are tips and strategies that I can do or use if I'm feeling depressed or I have depression? Or, positive attitude. How do I develop a more positive attitude? These are the kinds of strategies and resources you're looking for. You may not need to sit with a counselor if you take the time to educate yourself and learn and then apply. You have to apply these, right? That's very important, is apply what you learn. So our resources, finding and accessing help in our communities. There's all kinds of help. It can be challenging to find it and access it, but it's there. So through family and friends, support lines, your general practitioner, right? Your medical doctor, your family doctor, mental health services, psychotherapists, psychologists, psychiatrists. The only difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist is psychiatrists can write prescriptions for medications. Community support services, employee assistance programs, crisis services, holistic practices. There's all kinds of support out there. You just got to reach out. Big White Wall. It's a free, safe, anonymous, 24/7 community support for adults and youth 16 and up to cope with depression and anxiety, as well as social isolation. Users can talk anonymously to others experiencing similar issues. The site is monitored by trained counselors 24/7. Users have access to online guided support courses on depression, anxiety, weight management, and more. Users can display feelings using images, drawings, and words to make bricks that are posted to the wall. Users can register online themselves or be referred by their primary caregiver to bigwhitewall.ca. Here's a comment from someone. On Big White Wall, I was able to connect with people all over the world, completely anonymously, monitored, and safely, who were sharing my concerns. So for questions or information, contact the team at bigwhitewall.ca, or to request marketing materials, email bigwhitewall@otn.ca. Now, that brings us to the final slide, which is my contact information. If at any point you're looking for resources, you're looking for support, you have questions, anything like that, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Send me an email. I'll be more than happy to respond, to reply. My email address is denise.miller@gnb.ca. I'm going to stop sharing at this point. So yeah, it's very important that you guys reach out when you need the help. You do the things that you got to do to make sure that you kind of keep going in a positive direction. I'm just going to read back here through some of our chat comments. The peer support program, the contact person, you need to call our Fredericton office. There will be somebody back in that office as of September 21st. Their telephone number is 506-455-5231. I'm dealing with the loss of my husband. He passed away April 22nd. My sympathies. My son is in treatment for drug addiction, dealing with ADHD. It's been a hard time for both of us. I'm grateful for mental health. Hey, absolutely. Shelley, I hear you. I feel for you. That peer support program is there. If you're in the Moncton area, you could call the Moncton office of CMHA, and in St. John, you can call the St. John office. They also have all kinds of programs on grief, all kinds of things that might be helpful to you. So really look into those things. Katie, yeah. Okay, so she gave you Lauren's email address. That's perfect. I read a grateful prayer. Perfect. Good. I appreciate hearing your coping strategies. I also need to let go of codependency with my son. That's a tough one for us. It is. We have to have trust and faith that everything we've taught them, something's got in, and that they're going to be okay. But they know, because you love them, they know they can come back to you if they are struggling. Practice. Yeah, these skills can be learned, and when we practice them regularly, we're calm, and well, it makes them easier to use in moments like this. That's right, Katie. 100% I agree. I hope some of these skills will be helpful for you. So yes, please don't hesitate, everybody. If there's anything, like I said, that you'd like to know or have further information on or whatever, I'd love for you to reach out and contact me by email. I'm not in my office yet. I will be back on September 21st. But in the meantime, I'm certainly available. I'm absolutely working, but just working from home. So you certainly can contact me via email, and I'd be happy to help out in any way that I can. So this wraps up another great webinar, just some great information, lots of things for us to think about, ways to improve and to get stronger, become more resilient, looking at building our coping skills and our tools as we move forward in this world that has changed and is becoming new. And we're moving through it, and we're doing so. I'm so proud of everybody. I think we're really doing well, and I think we've made some really good positive changes. There's been some good positive things that have come out of COVID, and we need to focus on those and keep making more new positive things happen. And I think as long as everybody is respectful of the policies and the guidelines that they've put in place, they're there for our protection. Respect those. I think we will continue. It won't be like this forever, folks. It really won't. We know that. So be happy, be safe, be kind to each other. And from all the folks at CMHA of New Brunswick, have a kind day. Bye for now.